Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back into the Turfed Football Podcast studio. As usual, I am your host, Kieran Drover, and now that we are into the most boring part of the offseason, free agency's over, the draft is over, only training camp awaits, I want to do something different and fun today. Now, you and I both know that the NFL is a quarterback-driven league, and it has been for the better part of 1 to 2 decades, whether it's Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. You pretty much can't win a Super Bowl unless you have a superstar at quarterback. Yes, there are a few exceptions like Nick Foles. I do understand that. And if that is going to be the case, well, he's going to have difference makers and game wreckers around him on each side of the ball. Even the best quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes need those sorts of players. So today, I'm going to be ranking the top 10 players in the National Football League as of right now that are not quarterbacks. In a regular list, there might be 4 to 5 QBs, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. But which players round out that list when you take away the throwers of the football? That I am breaking down today. And my first player, perhaps my most controversial one, at number 10, Detroit Lions edge rusher, Aidan Hutchinson. If it weren't for having broken his leg during the 2024 season, Hutchinson would have been a shoo-in for the Defensive Player of the Year award. 7.5 sacks and 17 QB hits through the first 5 games were impressive, but let's take a closer look. His 38.3% pass rush win rate ranked first in the league amongst edge rushers with at least 20% of their team's pass rush snaps, and his 49.5% win rate versus true pass sets was also first by a long shot. The second placed player in both of those categories, 23.1% and 31.5% against true pass sets. Hutch also recorded 45 pressures in 2024, despite only playing in 5 games. To put that efficiency into perspective, TJ Watt, a Defensive Player of the Year, had 57 pressures in 18 games, and Will Anderson Jr. had 60 pressures in 16 games. So I really hope that Hutch is able to recover from his injury because he looked like he was on track to become an all-time pass rusher, and his injury started a chain of devastation to the Lions defense, which more or less derailed their season and lost them perhaps their best shot at winning the Super Bowl now that offensive coordinator Ben Johnson and defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn are gone. Also, I'm willing to bet that I'm not the only one who just realized Hutch is 6'7", 268 pounds. Holy crap. Coming in at number 9 on the list, Baltimore Ravens running back Derrick Henry. Despite turning 31 years old in January, while playing arguably the most physically demanding position in football, Henry averaged 6 yards per carry in 2024 between the regular season and playoffs, first in the NFL. But the most impressive part of his game has always been his calling card, forcing missed tackles. Henry led that category with 89 last season, and it's important because on every play, the offense can only block 9 players. So the running back is responsible for making those players miss, and no one has done that better than Henry over the past decade. In 2024, his 3.6 yards after contact per attempt ranked 5th best in the NFL. Not to mention his breakaway percentage, which is the percentage of his total rushing yards gained on runs of 15 plus yards, was 3rd best in the league, behind only Saquon Barkley and Jerome Ford at 42.4%. So he can run, despite being listed at 6'2", 247 pounds. He is easily the league's scariest offensive weapon for opposing defenders. At number 8, Baltimore Ravens safety Kyle Hamilton. Henry's teammate in Baltimore is the best all-around safety in football, and he held together the Ravens secondary in 2024. This past season, he was the only defender in football to record, according to PFF, at least an 85.0 grade in both coverage and as a run defender. He ranked 9th in Defensive Player of the Year voting last season and was named to the All-Pro second team after being named to the All-Pro first team in 2023. He played 1,167 snaps last season, including 407 in the box, 292 in the slot, and 355 at free safety, so he truly can do it all. After Marlon Humphrey became the Ravens' full-time nickel cornerback down the stretch, he played in the slot less, but his 81.0 passer rating allowed as a slot defender in coverage ranked 7th best among safeties. The The fact that he can effectively cover opposing slot receivers who are typically smaller and shiftier at 6'4", 220 pounds is crazy. And on top of that, he is easily one of the best run defending safeties in football. Hamilton is the kind of player who changes a defense and wrecks an opposing offensive game plan, despite playing what's considered a non-premium position. Landing at number 7 on my list, Denver Broncos cornerback Patrick Surtain II. The reigning Defensive Player of the Year was the best tackling cornerback in 2024, and perhaps that serves as the most impressive part of his game, leading the NFL with a 0.0% missed tackle rate. For a boundary corner to be that productive as a tackler, especially when they're already one of the purest cover corners in the sport, says a lot about his mindset as a football player. And that's before mentioning how good he is in coverage. His 61.1 passer rating allowed ranked second best in the NFL, and so did his 11.5 coverage snaps per target. Surtain led the Broncos defense, which doesn't have many superstars per se, and plays in a division that features Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, to just 311 points allowed, third best in the NFL. He also recorded 4 interceptions, 5 pass breakups, while surrendering just 2 touchdowns in coverage and scoring a pick 6 of his own. Up next, Super Bowl champion, number 6, it's Philadelphia Eagles running back Saquon Barkley. Barkley is easily one of the league's greatest athletic freaks who made highlight reel play after highlight reel play last season, including his iconic backwards hurdle versus Jacksonville. That was the coolest play in football last year, other than, well, of course, the lake effect lateral.
This is behind Cooper, who brought it in, pitched it back to Allen, who's going to go to the goal line and get in! No! Spectacular touchdown!
But seriously, the 2024 Offensive Player of the Year had one of the best single seasons by a running back in NFL history, helping lead his Eagles to their franchise's second Super Bowl championship. He joined Henry, who is also on this list, as just the 9th player in NFL history to rush for 2,000 plus yards in a single season. And then in the playoffs, he led the NFL with 91 carries, 499 rushing yards, and 5 rushing touchdowns. Barkley was second in missed tackles forced with 83 in 2024, and it's easy to see why he's effective in that category. He's one of the strongest, most fluid runners in football, and he was really a threat to score on every single carry. In fact, he's probably the best combination of power and speed at the running back position in today's game. His third place finish in MVP voting, despite being a running back, says it all about Barkley's 2024. He's one of the faces of the NFL, the definition of a superstar, and I wouldn't be shocked if he graced the Madden 26 cover. Coming in at number 5, Dallas Cowboys edge rusher Micah Parsons. Very soon, Parsons could surpass another player on this list as the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history, and it will be well warranted. His 52.5 sacks are 5th most since he entered the league in 2021, and he is ranked top 3 in pass rush win rate in each of the past 4 seasons. For Parsons, that accounts for every season of his career so far. Without trying to reveal any spoilers, the only other player to hold that title is also ranked on this list. By the way, Parsons missed 4 games with a high ankle sprain last season. Yeah, he's still ranked tied for 5th in the league with 14 sacks, and he only became a full-time edge rusher in 2022 after spending his college career and most of his rookie season playing as an off-ball linebacker who more than occasionally rushed the passer. So really, the sky's the limit when it comes to Micah Parsons. Unlike that other player on this list who must not be named yet, Parsons is one of the only edge rushers who can consistently line up at different spots and maintain success. Whether he rushes from the right or the left, or even over the center, which he has done on numerous occasions, he is going to wreck your offensive game plan, even if said game plan revolves around limiting his impact. But I'll leave you with this. Before suffering a high ankle sprain which forced him to miss 4 games, Parsons was on pace for 92 QB pressures, which would have been 9 more than the next best player in football. Despite missing 4 games, his 70 QB pressures still ranked 5th best in football. He is a stud. Up next, at number 4, Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver Ja'Marr Chase. In 2024, Chase became just the 6th wide receiver in NFL history to record the Triple Crown. No, not horse racing. He led the league in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns, joining some truly elite company. Lance Allworth in 1966, Jerry Rice in 1990, Sterling Sharp in 1992, Steve Smith in 2005, Cooper Kupp in 2021, and of course, Ja'Marr Chase in 2024 with 127 receptions, 1,708 receiving yards, and most impressively, 17 receiving touchdowns. Large part of that dominance stems from his ability after the catch, as he led the NFL with 797 yards after the catch and ranked tied for second in the league with 24 missed tackles forced amongst all pass catchers, including running backs and tight ends. After winning Rookie of the Year in 2021, Chase has become one of the NFL's premier receivers, and it is why he signed a 4-year, $161 million contract extension earlier this offseason, making him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history, at least for now. But that is a pretty good title to hold for this list. Landing at number 3, it's 3-time Super Bowl champion, how fitting, defensive tackle from the Kansas City Chiefs, Chris Jones. Jones comes into this list at number 3, serving as the best interior defensive lineman in football. He finished 2024 with the highest pass rush win rate for non-edge rushers at 18.8%, along with the most pressures and quarterback hurries. Despite only recording 6 sacks in 2024, including the postseason, Jones was named a first-team All-Pro for the 3rd consecutive year, and it's because sacks don't always tell the whole story. During his tenure with the Chiefs, Jones has fit into the gamer category that describes many of the Chiefs' best players, and he saves his best football for the biggest stages. Watch this sequence from the Bills' opening drive in this year's AFC Championship game. While playing on the road in Kansas City, especially in the playoffs, your offense wants to score first in order to control the game script and ideally keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands for as long as possible by maintaining possession. But thanks to Jones' back-to-back pressures where he mauls both of Buffalo's guards on 2nd and 3rd down, the Bills are forced to punt after a 3-and-out, giving the Chiefs a chance to score the game's first touchdown. And, of course, that's exactly what they do. Jones finished that game with 8 pressures and a 33.3% win rate on 36 pass rushing snaps. He has been dominating opposing offense throughout his career, having tallied 72 sacks since 2018, which is ranked tied for 5th amongst all pass rushers during that span. Coming in at the number 2 spot, it's my favorite non-quarterback in the NFL, Minnesota Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson. Since being drafted in 2020, Jefferson has been the league's most consistent and reliable pass catcher who can beat opposing defenses at any level of the field because of his elite route running ability, which clears every other receiver in football. And folks, the proof is in the pudding. His 96.5 career yards per game is the highest rate in NFL history. But perhaps the most impressive part of Jefferson's resume is that he has remained the NFL's number 1 wideout despite playing with a revolving door of quarterbacks throughout his career, and none that are considered superstars like Joe Burrow. In the past 2 seasons, Jefferson has caught balls from Kirk Cousins, Jaren Hall, Joshua Dobbs, Nick Mullins, and Sam Darnold. Yet, we've never heard a peep or complaint. The guy just balls out. And he's even more versatile than people would expect, playing nearly 200 snaps from the slot in each of his 5 seasons in the NFL. He can be your prototypical X-receiver on any team, but even bump inside and make life hell for opposing linebackers and slot corners. In 2022, Jefferson had the most impressive season of his career, finishing 5th place in MVP voting, and he had a legitimate argument for the title after leading Minnesota to a 13-4 record while making catches like this one in the game's biggest moments. And he was rewarded, being named the NFL's Offensive Player of the Year in 2022, making 128 catches for 1,809 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns. When it's all said and done, Jefferson will go down as one of the best receivers in NFL history, regardless of who is throwing him the ball. And in an era that's littered with diva wide receivers, it's really refreshing to know that the position's biggest superstar is all about his team. But the best non-quarterback in today's NFL is Cleveland Browns edge rusher Myles Garrett. The 2017 first overall pick has lived up to expectations, and then some, while playing the entirety of his 8-year career in Cleveland. For starters, his 102.5 sacks before turning 30 ranks 3rd best in NFL history, behind only Hall of Famers Jared Allen and Reggie White. But let's take things a step further and break down his pass rush win rate since 2018, along with where his numbers rank amongst the league's best edge defenders. In 2024, 23.1%. First. 2023, 27.3%. First. 2022, 22.5%. First. 2021, 22.7%. Second. 2020, 17.7%. Fifth. 2019, 23.3%. Back to the top spot, and in 2018, 16.7%. Fourth. Earlier on this list, I said that Derrick Henry was the scariest offensive weapon in the league. Well, Myles Garrett is easily the scariest defender in today's NFL, and he is the definition of a game wrecker. He has been named to the All-Pro First Team in 4 of the past 5 seasons, and in 2023, he was finally, and deservingly so, named the NFL's Defensive Player of the Year. His 4-year, $160 million extension to remain in Cleveland made him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history at the time of signing, and I'd expect the contract to age very well as he continues dominating opposing offenses each week, regardless of whether his Browns are scoring points at the other end. In fact, if you consider how much losing the Browns have done throughout Garrett's career, think of how much more productive he could be as a pass rusher if he had the opportunity to close out games while his team clings to the lead, and the other team is forced to continue passing the ball. That's a really scary thought. And for those QBs, I'm sure they're glad that they're on top. Now that I'm finished breaking down who are my top 10 non-quarterbacks in the NFL, I want you all to consider one thing which I found crazy. For as good as these players are, only 2 of the 10 have won Super Bowls. That's Saquon Barkley this past season in Philly, and of course Chris Jones, who has won 3 championships with Patrick Mahomes. It is a quarterback-driven league, I understand that. If you don't have a superstar at QB, the roster needs to be next level. These are next level players that can take a team to the playoffs, and I would assume eventually win some Super Bowl championships regardless of where they're playing. I hope you enjoyed the video, and please let me know in the comments what your top 10 list is and where I went wrong. Looking forward to my next video and to seeing you guys all soon. Cheers.